On the rooftop, a boy named Jin-soo is being bullied by a group of delinquents. The next second, he rises to his feet in a twisted, unnatural posture and launches a fierce counterattack. In the chaos, he loses his balance and plunges from the height. His father, Mr. Lee, rushes to the hospital after receiving the news. Strangely, he deliberately avoids the doctor's gaze and quietly slips into the ward. Facing his critically injured son, he shows none of the expected grief. Instead, he calmly assures him that everything will be fine. Jin-soo, however, roars in fury, shouting that only by killing those bullies can his suffering truly end. Moments later, his body begins to convulse violently, as if he is about to mutate at any second. In a panic, Mr. Lee grabs a Bible, trying to save his son. Not long after, he drags a heavy suitcase into an abandoned factory. Suddenly, a hand reaches out from inside the case. Only then does Mr. Lee realize in horror that his son has completely turned into a zombie. At school, the students are doing a campus-wide cleanup. A girl named Hyun-ju wanders into the science lab and accidentally discovers a cute white mouse. Without thinking, she reaches out to tease it, only to be bitten hard. Strangely, after tasting blood, the mouse becomes extremely aggressive. At that very moment, Mr. Lee returns to the lab. Seeing the blood on the floor, he immediately realizes that Hyun-ju may be infected and quickly restrains her. It turns out Mr. Lee is the school's science teacher, and rumors about him have been spreading across campus. Ever since his son went missing, students claim they can smell a rotting odor coming from him. His behavior grows increasingly erratic. He even leaves the classroom abruptly in the middle of lessons. Still, these are only rumors. The students treat them as gossip and never look deeper. At the morning assembly the next day, the homeroom teacher, Miss Park, notices that Yeonju is absent and begins asking about her whereabouts. One boy recalls that they cleaned the science lab together yesterday, but he hasn't seen her since. Following this lead, Miss Park goes to Mr. Lee and asks whether he has seen Hyunju. Before Mr. Lee can answer, a strange noise comes from behind him. He hurriedly explains that it is just a lab mouse and insists that he has never seen Hyunju. After Miss Park leaves, Mr. Lee returns to the lab and starts documenting his experiment. Tied up, Hyunju keeps begging him to save her. Mr. Lee recognizes at a glance that she is one of the students who once took part in bullying his son. He coldly tells her not to hold on to any hope and injects her with a sedative. Afterward, he calmly returns to class and continues teaching as if nothing has happened. What he does not know is that Hyunju has already fully mutated and managed to break free. She staggers back into the classroom and publicly accuses the science teacher of imprisoning her. Sensing the urgency, Soo-hyuk volunteers to carry her to the infirmary. Out of nowhere, Hyunju turns strange and tries to bite his neck. Fortunately, she is placed on a hospital bed in time. To everyone's shock, Hyunju's body temperature is only 29 degrees Celsius. She struggles even more violently and scratches Onjo, who is beside her. Panicking, Miss Park quickly calls the emergency line, begging for help. By coincidence, Onjo's father is the captain of the rescue team. After giving his daughter a quick treatment, he rushes off without delay. Afterward, Miss Park warns the students not to tell anyone about this for now. Then she escorts Mr. Lee to the principal's office with the PE teacher. Mr. Lee is visibly agitated. He insists that Hyunju must not be sent to the hospital and needs to be isolated immediately. The principal, however, dismisses his warning and instead accuses him of causing chaos and damaging the school's evaluation. Just as Mr. Lee is about to leave, the police suddenly arrive and arrest him on the spot. At this moment, no one realizes that a true catastrophe is closing in. In the infirmary, a nurse discovers that the spot where she was bitten by Hyunju is rapidly rotting. Her eyes soon turn bloodshot, blood pours from her nose, and she eventually loses consciousness completely. On the rooftop, a girl named Min stares down in despair at the campus filled with laughter and cheerful voices. Her follower, Kim, tries to stop her from doing something reckless, but to Min, this place already feels like hell. She, too, is a victim of severe school bullying. Not long ago, delinquent students secretly filmed an intimate video of her and threatened to release it online. Unable to imagine living through what comes next, She wants nothing more than to end all the pain. At that very moment, hordes of zombies crash through the windows and begin attacking students in a frenzy. Just moments earlier, the mutated nurse assaults a passing student. The virus spreads at an alarming speed, and the entire campus spirals out of control. In the cafeteria, Anjo confides to her best friend that she has just confessed her feelings to Soo-hyuk. Soo-hyuk does not respond because the person he truly likes is Namra. Her friend is stunned since everyone believes Anjo is dating Chong-san. The two live next door to each other and are always inseparable. Chong-san has long harbored feelings for Anjo, but she has never noticed. As Anjo prepares to leave the cafeteria, a wave of panicked students suddenly rushes in through the exit. Faced with the horrifying scene, she collapses on the spot. In the critical moment, Cheong-san pulls her up and shields her as they escape through a window. Yet the world outside is just as chaotic. They retreat back into the classroom building, desperately searching for a safe place. Along the way, a zombie suddenly tackles Cheong-san, and Anjo immediately grabs a fire extinguisher to fight back. Amid the chaos, they manage to escape and return to a classroom, reuniting with the other survivors. Meanwhile, Soo-hyuk pushes against the fleeing crowd to find Namra, the two of them running for their lives across the perilous campus. Fortunately, he finds a ladder and leads Namra into the secured classroom. At this point, all the main characters finally come together. They begin to realize that this is not a simple accident, but a terrifying zombie disaster. At the same time, Hyunju, who has been transferred to the hospital, suddenly regains consciousness. Her body starts to convulse violently, and she abruptly bites nearby medical workers. Before long, the zombie virus spreads rapidly throughout the hospital. The person responsible for all of this is none other than Mr. Lee. A month earlier, after learning that his son has endured long-term school bullying, he extracts a special hormone from rats that they release when fighting their predators and injects it into his son. He believes that turning fear into anger will make Jinsu stronger. Instead, Jinsu undergoes a severe mutation and even bites his own grandmother. From that moment on, everything spirals completely out of control. At this moment, inside a classroom, the students find a cell phone and immediately call the police, claiming that zombies have appeared on campus. However, the police do not take it seriously and instead warn them that making a false report will lead to punishment. Only after receiving multiple similar calls do the authorities finally realize this is not a prank. As panic spreads and everyone is at a loss, Anjo quickly contacts the fire department and lies, saying a massive fire has broken out at the school. Upon hearing the report, Anjo's father immediately leads a rescue team toward the campus. Meanwhile, the PE teacher flees into the classroom in terror and orders the students to barricade the doors and windows with desks and chairs to keep the zombies out. The students obediently comply until Anjo's friend notices the obvious bite marks on the teacher's arm and demands that he leave the classroom at once. Before anyone can react, the teacher suddenly mutates on the spot, lunges at the students, and bites one of the girls. Several boys rush forward to hold off the zombie, buying time for the others to escape. They retreat desperately toward the end of the hallway, only to crash straight into even more zombies. At the critical moment, Soo-hyuk charges to the front with a flying kick, single-handedly facing the horde. The other boys quickly rip off window frames to use as weapons, while the burly Yang hoists up a door and storms forward to help. As the number of zombies keeps growing, the students are forced to flee upstairs. The noise draws even more zombies, cutting off both their front and rear routes, and the only safe classroom is locked. At the crucial moment, Anjo smashes the lock with a fire hose nozzle, allowing everyone to rush inside and catch their breath. But the situation does not improve. They soon realize their only phone has been left outside, completely cutting them off from the outside world. Just then, Anjo suddenly notices that Soo-hyuk is missing. It turns out that during the chaos, Soo-hyuk is knocked to the ground while covering for everyone, and his fate is unknown. Outside the school, the archery team returns to campus by bus, only to run into zombies at the school gate. 2 team members enter the school with bows in hand and successfully rescue 2 survivors in the restroom. Elsewhere, Miss Park staggers into the broadcasting room and uses the PA system to urge students to find safe places to hide. As the familiar voice echoes through the halls, the students grow lost, unsure of what to do next. At this moment, Anjo notices that her friend's hand is unnaturally cold, and she suddenly starts bleeding from the nose. Her friend rushes to a mirror and sees that her eyes are already turning red. It turns out that during the earlier fight outside, her leg is bitten by a zombie. Soon, she collapses to the floor, mutates, and begins attacking those around her. In the chaos, she accidentally falls out of the window, but Anjo desperately grabs onto her and refuses to let go. Seeing this, Cheong-san immediately grabs a stool and smashes it at the zombie with all his strength. As memories of their friendship flood back, Anjo crouches on the floor and breaks down in tears, and the classroom is instantly filled with suffocating despair. At that moment, Cheong-san insists they must leave immediately. The zombies will break in sooner or later, and the only option is to save themselves. He then risks going outside to retrieve the hose, and with his classmates' help, ties several knots in it and tosses it out the window. His friend Han summons the courage to go first and scout the way down. Luckily, the end of the rope leads directly to the broadcasting room where Miss Park is hiding. After confirming it is safe, the others follow one by one, climbing down the rope. Before leaving, Nam-ra leaves a note behind to inform Soo-hyuk that they have moved to the broadcasting room. With Cheong-san's help, Anjo also makes it down safely. However, just as Cheong-san prepares to leave, a zombie suddenly leaps at him from the shadows. Meanwhile, Soo-hyuk has been hiding in the art room the entire time. He patiently waits for the right moment, then risks climbing out through a window just in time to witness Cheong-san being attacked. Fortunately, Cheong-san manages to grab the hose, but a zombie grabs his ankle. Without hesitation, Soo-hyuk leaps forward, holding on to Cheong-san and forcefully kicking the zombie away. In the end, the two successfully reach the broadcasting room, reuniting with the other students. However, Nana, the girl in the pink sweater, grows extremely impatient and orders everyone to shut the windows immediately. Han can't hold back anymore and warns her not to be so selfish. He points out that all along she has cared only about saving herself and shown no concern for anyone else's safety. Unexpectedly, Nana publicly mocks him, calling him a low-class nobody. It turns out Han has been relying on government assistance to stay in school, and Nana, who comes from a wealthy family, looks down on him for it. Seeing the argument escalate, Miss Park steps in and puts a stop to it. She reminds everyone that now is not the time for infighting. Their priority is to figure out what's happening outside. The students immediately turn on a nearby computer, trying to contact the outside world. At that exact moment, the glass suddenly shatters, and a zombie crashes down from above. The boys try to push it back with a mop, but the creature's strength is far beyond what they expect. In desperation, Han grabs the computer tower and smashes the zombie down. Just when everyone thinks the danger is over, Nana suddenly notices that Han's nose is bleeding and there are scratches on his hand. She immediately concludes that Han has been infected and incites the others to throw him out. Han desperately explains that the nosebleed is caused by Soo-hyuk accidentally hitting him during the chaos, and that the wound is only a scratch from the computer case. After carefully checking him, the boys confirm that he hasn't been bitten and demand that Nana apologize. Nana, however, insists that he is very likely already infected, since the zombie touched his wound. Left with no choice, Miss Park suggests isolating Han in the recording room for 10 minutes. If he doesn't mutate, Nana must apologize. Han refuses and firmly insists on being isolated for a full hour. Half an hour passes quickly, and he still shows no abnormalities. Miss Park reminds Nana to honor the agreement and apologize to Han. Believing that everyone is ganging up on her, Nana reluctantly enters the recording room and uses a handkerchief to wipe Han's wound. Because the room is well soundproofed, the students outside assume the two have reconciled. In reality, Nana deliberately provokes him again, complaining that she has been cornered because of a nobody like him. When Han storms out of the room in rage, everyone finally realizes that she never apologized at all and begins condemning her behavior. Nana remains indifferent and even claims that she has saved everyone. The next second, Han's nose starts bleeding again, and his eyes slowly turn red. Determined not to hurt his classmates, he suppresses his fear and staggers toward the door. Just as he is about to open it, he suddenly hallucinates. Everyone in front of him turns into zombies. Moments later, he completely loses control. With tears in his eyes, Chong-san blows a whistle to lure Han toward the window. Afterward, Nana believes everyone owes her thanks, yet Namra steps forward and slaps her hard. It turns out Namra witnessed that Nana deliberately smeared the handkerchief with zombie blood before wiping Han's injury. After the truth comes out, Nana drops her act. But she still doesn't understand why everyone thinks Han is better than her. She coldly adds that she didn't kill him. After all, he's still alive, just no longer human. Chong-san finally snaps and shoves her violently to the ground. Realizing she has been completely isolated by everyone, Nana walks out in despair. Soo-hyuk tries to chase after her, but Miss Park firmly stops him. She sternly warns the students that no matter what happens, they must never take a life, because once they do, life becomes completely meaningless. After saying this, Miss Park runs after Nana and pulls her away to avoid the pursuing zombies. Meanwhile, the delinquent Gui Nam is still trapped in the cafeteria kitchen. He's also one of the main bullies at school. To escape, he doesn't hesitate to push the boy next to him toward the zombies to draw their attention. A kind cafeteria worker tries to protect him, but Gui Nam also brutally pushes her straight into the zombie horde. Beyond the school campus, other parts of the city spiral completely out of control. To stop the virus from spreading, the government quickly deploys large numbers of armed police to seal off the roads, but they severely underestimate the destructive power of the zombies. Meanwhile, a high school girl leaves school early after feeling unwell. She enters a public restroom and gives birth alone inside a stall. At first, she intends to leave alone, but after seeing the streets filled with zombies, she goes back to save the baby. While trying to escape, she is bitten by a zombie. Realizing she is about to lose control, she places the baby in a relatively safe spot and tightly binds herself to the door with a rope. This way, the zombies cannot get in, and she cannot hurt her child. Another parent risking everything for their child is Cheong-san's mother. From the news, she learns that an acute virus is spreading rapidly across the city, and that the source is Cheong-san's school. Risking everything, she sneaks into the campus and happens to see Han wandering around the playground. Unaware that he is already infected, she tries to ask about Cheong-san's whereabouts, but is instantly surrounded by zombies. Meanwhile, inside the assembly hall, a congresswoman confidently assumes that a helicopter will soon arrive to rescue her because of her status. But Anjo's father says that he didn't report who was there, because per rules of rescue, the weak and ill take priority over VIPs. In truth, he also wants to get out of there as soon as possible, since his daughter is still trapped at the school and her fate unknown. Back on campus, only two areas remain relatively safe. One is the broadcasting room, and the other is the school rooftop. After being bullied for so long, the two students now desperately want to see the school destroyed. Inside the broadcasting room, the students begin to worry about Miss Park and Nana. As the atmosphere grows heavier, Soo-hyuk suddenly raises a question that seems inappropriate yet painfully realistic. Does anyone have to go to the bathroom? Hearing that, Anjo recalls the emergency knowledge her father once taught her and uses the limited materials around to build a makeshift toilet. Now, all they can do is hold on and wait for rescue. Elsewhere, Gui Nam finally seizes an opportunity to escape from the cafeteria and hides inside the principal's office, only to encounter other zombies. Fortunately, he is carrying a dagger and narrowly manages to survive. Meanwhile, a live streamer is dodging zombies across the city. In a desperate bid for attention, he ventured alone into the outbreak zone and broadcast live to his fans. He tries to find a safe place to hide, only to be relentlessly chased by a group of child zombies. As the city collapses into total chaos, Detective Song finally realized the magnitude of the disaster Mr. Lee has caused. Yet Mr. Lee insists he has done nothing wrong. It's the world, ruled by the law of the jungle, that's truly to blame. It turns out that to preserve the school's image, the principal covered up the truth, claiming the school bullying was just a prank between students. Mr. Lee had no choice but to transfer his son to another school, yet the bullies still refuse to stop. Seeing Jin-Soo's miserable condition, his rage reaches its breaking point, and he ultimately chooses to turn Jin-Soo into a monster. Detective Song demands to know whether there is a cure, only to receive a brutal answer: the virus cannot be contained. Soon zombies begin invading the police station. Seeing the desperate scene, Mr. Lee's last bit of humanity wakes up. He urges Detective Song to go to the school's science lab and retrieve his laptop. There lies the only clue that can solve everything. With that, Mr. Lee turns back to hold off the zombies, buying Song precious time to escape. The next morning, the students in the broadcasting room wake up one by one. Namra raises a grim reality. Without water, a human can survive at most 3 days. So they must learn what is happening outside as soon as possible to decide whether to keep waiting or attempt an escape. The only place where they might find phones is the teacher's office downstairs. By routine, the homeroom teacher will collect all students' phones before class each day and keep them stored there. Cheong-san and Soo-hyuk volunteer to go to the teacher's office. However, as soon as they step inside, they see a girl furiously smashing every phone in sight. Not long before this, on the rooftop, Kim delivers devastating news to Min. He has agreed to meet Guinam today to pay for the video that could ruin her, or it will be released online at 9 a.m. 45 Mandarin. Min completely breaks down. To her, having her reputation destroyed is even worse than death. She decides to look for Guinam's phone and demands that Kim come along, since he was the one who filmed the video. Kim argues that Guinam forced him to do it and coldly refuses to help. In despair, Min rushes to the teacher's office alone and is eventually attacked by zombies. With her last bit of consciousness, she staggers into the office and smashes every single phone. Chong-san tries to secretly grab one phone, but she notices him. The noise of their struggle quickly attracts the zombies. In the chaos, Chong-san manages to secure one intact phone, but he is forced to split up from Soo-hyuk. While fleeing, he runs into the principal's office and unexpectedly finds Guinam holding the principal hostage. Guinam claims the principal threatened him with a knife and ordered him to bring the car downstairs. Chong-san does not believe a word from this delinquent. He raises the phone and starts recording and mocks Guinam, saying he's just a loser who will serve bullies for his entire life. Furious, Guinam kills the principal on the spot and demands that Chong-san hand over the phone. Chong-san says he'll hand the video to the police and runs off, not noticing Guinam's knife flying at him. Meanwhile, Soo-hyuk returns alone to the broadcasting room, and An-jo realizes that something may have happened to Chong-san. Luckily, he's fine and makes it to the library. Guinam chases after him relentlessly, determined to destroy the phone and erase the evidence. Unexpectedly, Cheong-san smashes the phone straight into Guinam's right eye and shoves him into a swarm of zombies. Guinam glares fiercely and swears, "I'll kill you." Chong-san does not stop. He escapes the library and hides inside a fire ventilation shaft. Once he is temporarily safe, he tries to call for help, only to discover that there is no signal at all. It turns out that to prevent public panic, the government has cut off all communications across the district. In a sense, the city has been completely abandoned. With all hope slipping away, Chong-san pounds the metal pipes in rage, but hiding here forever is not an option. He kicks open the door, skillfully dodges the oncoming zombies, and bursts into a classroom. At the same time, An-jo cannot stop worrying about Cheong-san. She decides to go to the science lab and use a drone to look for him. June, who has experience operating drones, volunteers to go with her. They climb into the lab using ropes, successfully retrieve the drone, and rush back to the broadcasting room. June first writes a note asking for help, then launches the drone to search the campus from above. Finally, they spot Chong-san inside a classroom. Only then does everyone truly breathe a sigh of relief. However, the drone's battery is nearly drained. June has no choice but to carry out the next task, sending the distress message beyond the school. Yet the outside world shown on the screen is just as chaotic. A girl suddenly notices her parents have turned into zombies and collapses in despair. To make matter worse, the drone loses power and crashes. Meanwhile, Detective Song and his partner are on their way to the school when they're suddenly surrounded by zombies, forcing them to take shelter in a nearby restaurant. Seeing a high school girl tied up at the entrance and a baby crying non-stop, Song immediately realizes what has happened and tells his partner to find some milk for the child. Not long after, Guinam wakes up. His body is covered in deep bite wounds, yet he remains fully conscious and can even move freely among the zombies. The same thing happens to Min. She didn't mutate after being attacked. Perhaps they are a new type of zombie capable of infecting others while still retaining human consciousness. Guinam quickly accepts his new identity. He has only one goal: to find Cheong-san and take revenge. At the same time, Cheong-san finishes off the last zombie in the classroom. From inside the storage room, Nana keeps her eyes on him before silently shutting the door. Elsewhere, the microphone is switched on by accident, and a burst of piercing static echoes through the school. Namra quickly comes up with a plan. She suggests using loud music to lure the zombies to one side, while the group sneaks around from the other. After regrouping with Cheong-san, they can head to the rooftop and try to attract the attention of a patrol helicopter. June finishes adjusting the equipment and uses the broadcast to tell Cheong-san to stay where he is. Then Namra presses play, and the zombies swarm toward the sound, except for Guinam, who runs straight toward the broadcasting room. The plan goes smoothly at first, until the students notice a zombie stuck in the corner by the doorway. With no other choice, they take the risk and carefully slip past it from behind. Suddenly, June accidentally drops his bottle. The loud crash instantly alerts the zombies, and everyone flees in panic. Soon, Guinam storms into the broadcasting room, only to find it completely empty. Spotting a movement plan left on the desk, he immediately gives chase. Along the way, he casually saves Soo-hyuk, who is trapped by zombies. Before Soo-hyuk can even thank him, Guinam demands to know where Cheong-san is, declaring that he will kill him with his own hands. Sensing something is wrong, Soo-hyuk tries to talk him down. Guinam is fed up with his constant lecturing and immediately beats him up. At a critical moment, Namra steps in to stop Guinam, but he bites her on the arm. Seeing this, Soo-hyuk quickly throws him out the window. Meanwhile, the others successfully reunite with Cheong-san and prepare to move toward the rooftop. Hearing the commotion, Nana wants to go with them, but as soon as they step out of the classroom, Soo-hyuk and Namra appear, chased by a swarm of zombies. Everyone is forced to retreat back inside. Soon, Cheong-san notices the bite mark on Namra's arm and immediately grabs a weapon. Soo-hyuk hurriedly explains that she is bitten by Guinam, not by a zombie. Cheong-san freezes. He clearly saw Guinam fall into the horde of zombies. After hearing this, Namra says nothing more and decides to go out. Soo-hyuk quickly stops her and assures everyone that if Namra turns, he'll throw her out the window so she can't attack anyone. As they wait, Namra's eyes gradually turn red, and an overwhelming hunger begins to take over. Sensing the danger, Cheong-san immediately attacks, but Soo-hyuk stops him again. Namra briefly regains her senses and admits that she really did want to bite Soo-hyuk. She knows what that means, and believes it's better for her to leave. Anjo steps forward and insists that Namra stay. She points out that there is no blood around Namra's mouth, which means she hasn't bitten anyone. Her hands are still warm as well, while real zombies feel cold to the touch. Even so, the others still want Namra to leave. To put everyone at ease, Soo-hyuk ties himself to Namra. That way, even if she mutates, she won't be able to hurt anyone. Once things calm down, the students start discussing what Namra has actually become. June jokingly suggests that she might be a half-bi, like fried chicken, half spicy, half fried. The mention of food makes everyone realize just how hungry and thirsty they are. Nana looks at the drinks and snacks stored inside and decides to bring a few to the others. But just as she's about to open the door, she hears them accusing her of causing Hans and Miss Park's deaths, and she stops. Cheong-san suddenly remembers that parents once donated large amounts of snacks to the school, which are likely stored in that room. However, Nana has locked the door from the inside. No matter how hard they slam into it, it won't open, and the noise only draws more zombies. With nothing else to do, the students turn on a digital camera and begin recording their final messages one by one. Facing the camera, Anjo tells her father that all she wants is for him to stay safe and that it's okay even if he can't come to rescue her. Meanwhile, Onjo's father arrives at the safe zone by helicopter with government officials, only to be placed under quarantine. To go out and find his daughter, he attacks the guard delivering meals, takes the man's uniform, and escapes. However, the soldiers on duty quickly spot him and open fire, trying to stop him. In a critical moment, he dives into the water, but is still struck by a bullet. Elsewhere, Soo-hyuk holds the camera but stays silent, not knowing what to say. Namra can't help asking why he is willing to take the risk of tying himself to her. Soo-hyuk answers sincerely, "Because I like you." For so long, he's buried those feelings, believing he's not good enough for someone like her. Hearing this, Namra's heart wavers. She lifts the camera and leaves just one short sentence. "Soo-hyuk, I like you." Then she gently kisses him. Overwhelmed with joy, Soo-hyuk tightly grips her hand. Suddenly, Namra turns sharply and walks toward the wall. She hears someone vomiting, but no one else does. The noise is from one of the offices, where Min had run into her homeroom teacher not long ago. She once asked her teacher for help, but the teacher said it was her fault she was bullied. Furious, she bites him, but soon can't stop herself from violently vomiting. Not only that, Namra realizes she can clearly hear even the faintest sounds made by everyone around her. She understands that this may be an ability only zombies possess, but she chooses to hide it, merely warning the others that something is wrong and that they need to move as soon as possible. However, a new problem arises: how to get to the rooftop. Onjo proposes building a tall barricade at the back of the classroom, then using the TV to create loud noise and draw the zombies in. If the hallway is cleared, they can take the back door up to the roof. Once the plan is set, Onjo unties the rope between Namra and Soo-hyuk, and everyone moves into action immediately. The loud music, mixed with the sound of instruments, successfully draws in all the nearby zombies, including Guinam. The plan works smoothly. The students rush out of the classroom and sprint toward the rooftop. Meanwhile, Kim, who has been hiding on the roof, has already laid out an SOS signal on the ground and finally sees a government helicopter arrive. But just then, he hears movement outside the door. Other surviving students are trying to get in. Kim's about to open the door, but suddenly he remembers what Min said. "We're outcasts again. No one cares if we live or die." With that thought, he backs away. He lies, claiming there are no survivors left in the school, and calmly boards the empty helicopter. Elsewhere, a large group of zombies gathers at the stairwell. Guinam appears with a cold smile and charges straight at Cheong-san. At the critical moment, Namra's eyes turn blood red once again. She strikes decisively, knocking Guinam down the stairs in a single blow. Almost at the same time, the fire alarm goes off, and the rooftop door automatically unlocks. It turns out Min has set fire to the teacher's office to vent her hatred toward the school. The students desperately rush onto the rooftop, only to watch the rescue helicopter fly away in the distance. Although they miss their chance to be saved, at least the rooftop is safe for now. At the same time, Detective Song and his partner, on their way to the school, unexpectedly rescue the live streamer. The three of them board a bus with the baby, but soon encounter Min, who has escaped from the school. Before long, the military notices them, mistakes them all for survivors, and brings everyone back to the safe camp. Late at night, Nana quietly steps out of the storage room and picks up the digital camera. As she watches the familiar faces on the screen, guilt overwhelms her, and she decides to bring food to her classmates. However, when the footage reaches Cheong-san, he suddenly mentions Han. The name instantly triggers Nana's deepest fear. She knows all too well that belated kindness cannot erase the fact that she is a killer, so she retreats once again. At that moment, she remembers Miss Park, who was bitten by a zombie while protecting her. Even at the very end of her life, Miss Park comforts Nana, telling her it is not her fault and urging her to apologize to her classmates. Wiping away her tears, Nana finally gathers her courage and decides to head for the rooftop. Unexpectedly, Guinam suddenly appears and kills her without hesitation. Meanwhile, on the rooftop, the surviving students light a small campfire and begin confessing secrets they have long kept buried. Onjo asks Namra why she always put up a wall, because she wore headphones all day and never said anything. Many students assume she hates them. Namra explains that she never hated them, she just didn't have any friends. Her mother always blamed her when her grades dropped, so she has done anything but study. Over time, she started shutting herself off from everyone. Hearing this, the students drop their prejudice and even start to feel bad for Namra. To lighten the mood, Yang suddenly changes the subject and openly admits that he has a crush on a girl from the archery team. The boy beside Soo-hyuk looks stunned because that girl happens to be his older sister. Taking advantage of the moment, Cheong-san also gathers his courage and confesses his feelings for Onjo. Onjo is at a loss and can only stand up and leave in a hurry. Cheong-san chases after her and asks in heartbreak, "Did you ever like me? Not even a little bit?" Unsure what to say, Onjo just asks for some time alone. Meanwhile, Guinam climbs up to the rooftop barehanded through a pipe, landing right next to Onjo. He assumes his blood-covered face will terrify everyone, but instead he realizes the others are not afraid at all. They openly despise him. Cheong-san mocks Guinam again, coldly saying that no matter the time or place, he is nothing. Completely enraged, Guinam threatens to kill Cheong-san in the most brutal way and orders everyone else to leave immediately. Unexpectedly, no one backs down. Instead, they unite and fight back together. Namra, in particular, unleashes her supernatural strength once again and violently hurls Guinam off the building. Elsewhere, Detective Song tells the military the truth. There is a critical laptop inside the school that contains the key to crack the virus. Upon hearing the news, the commander immediately dispatches a team to the school. Meanwhile, Kim and Min, who have both been rescued, reunite at the safe camp. Seeing that she is unharmed, Kim lets out a sigh of relief and hands her the lunchbox he is holding. However, Min has already completely turned dark. She coldly says she does not want that. What she wants to eat is him. Soon, a military helicopter arrives on the school rooftop, but the soldiers only check their temperatures one by one and then order them to wait in place. Because their real mission isn't to save anyone, it's to find the laptop. Under heavy fire support, the soldiers successfully secure the computer. Just as they prepare to withdraw, an urgent message comes in. They just discovered a case as asymptomatic inside the safe camp. Only then does the military realize that Min is a half-zombie, meaning even people who remain conscious are no longer safe. In the end, the commander orders the soldiers not to rescue anyone. This decision completely shatters the students' last remaining hope. Cheong-san kicks over the campfire and shouts in anger that no one is coming to save them anymore. Meanwhile, the military restrains Min and discovers that the virus cells inside her appear and disappear intermittently, allowing her to switch between human and zombie states. To eliminate any risk, the commander orders special quarantine measures for everyone rescued afterward, including the congresswoman and Detective Song. Late at night, thunder rumbles across the sky as heavy rain pours down. The rain not only brings water to the exhausted students, but also washes away the despair that has been building up inside them. Cheong-san suggests they move during the thunder, so the zombies will not hear their footsteps. Namra agrees, pointing out that the rain mixes all the scents together, weakening the zombies' hearing and sense of smell. Now is the perfect time to escape. Led by Cheong-san, the group carefully steps out of the school building, but disaster strikes again when Cheong-san sees his mother, now turned into a zombie. The others mistake her for an ordinary zombie and immediately swing their weapons at her. They don't stop until Cheong-san screams "Mom" in despair. The noise quickly draws in more zombies, forcing everyone to retreat. Soo-hyuk and Onjo support the devastated Cheong-san as they struggle to escape. During their escape, a short-haired girl stumbles and falls, crying out to the classmates ahead for help. Seeing the zombies closing in, the long-haired girl chooses to abandon her and run for her own life. At the last possible second, a boy from the group charges in and slams into the zombies. Moments later, several arrows fly in from a distance. It is his older sister providing cover. Elsewhere, the girl who runs off alone fails to escape and becomes prey to the zombies. The two groups soon reunite and enter the dark, silent gym. Suddenly, Namra senses something is wrong. The place is full of powerful, infected athletes. To cover the others' retreat, an injured boy voluntarily jumps off a cart and uses his body to block the swarm. In the end, the students have no choice but to take shelter in the equipment room. Meanwhile, the military is watching a video left behind by Mr. Lee. In the footage, he explained that the zombie virus was mutating far faster than humans could develop a vaccine. In his view, the only solution was to burn all the infected and cut off the spread at its source. But now, the infection zone continues to expand. To prevent the entire nation from falling, the commander is forced to abandon the whole city and order it wiped out by fire. After a night passes, Guinam struggles up to the rooftop, only to find that everyone is already gone. The students, however, are still in grave danger as Namra senses a large number of zombies closing in. Unwilling to leave regrets behind, Yang gathers his courage and confesses to the girl he has secretly loved for a long time. What he gets in return is a solid beating. Seeing this, Soo-hyuk suddenly gets an idea. They can tie the carts together in a circle and go inside to escape. During the preparations, Jun argues with a senior student over the plan. Namra steps in just in time and suggests settling it with a vote. In the end, the minority yields to the majority, and everyone chooses Jun's plan. Jun confidently promises that if anything goes wrong, he will lead the way and take responsibility. Once everything is ready, Soo-hyuk and Jun open the door first. Soo-hyuk charges straight into the zombies, fighting them head-on while the archers provide long-range support from behind. The rest of the students quickly push the carts together, forming a defensive circle. Drawn by the noise, the zombies swarm in and surround the carts, trapping them in place. Seeing his teammate in danger, Jun reaches out and shoves a zombie aside, but he is bitten in the process. Realizing he is about to turn, he decisively jumps out of the formation, deliberately drawing the zombies away to buy time for the others. When the group finally reaches the back door, they discover it is locked from the outside. Onjo throws herself at it again and again until it bursts open, and to her shock, it's her father. Under his cover, the students quickly flee toward the back hill. But as soon as they reach the tennis court, a massive horde of zombies pours in again. Onjo's father quickly throws flares and blows his whistle to attract the zombies. After making sure the kids escape safely, he locks the court behind him and stays behind alone. When Onjo sees the wound on his hand, she instantly understands his choice. Holding back her grief, she runs with the others all the way to a construction site. Because the workers are already infected, they can only take temporary refuge on the scaffolding outside. Onjo breaks down, crying silently for her father. Cheong-san holds her tightly, fully understanding her pain, because the people they loved most have turned into monsters. Shortly after, the monster inside Namra awakens again. To keep herself from hurting Soo-hyuk, she bites down hard on herself. Watching this, Soo-hyuk is heartbroken and tells her firmly, "If it happens again, bite me instead." Meanwhile, researchers begin searching for the zombies' weaknesses. They discover that zombies react extremely strongly to 24 kHz sound waves and instinctively chase the source. The military decides to deploy sound-emitting drones to lure the zombies into 4 designated zones, then carry out a concentrated bombing. Before the operation, soldiers fly over the city, urging all surviving citizens to take shelter in the bunkers immediately. Namra faintly hears the announcement and quickly tells the others that one of the bombing zones includes their high school. As they're talking about where to go, Guinam suddenly shows up. His target is clear. He charges straight at Cheong-san and bites his arm. At the same time, drones enter the campus and release the 24 kHz ultrasonic waves. Seeing Guinam collapse in agony, Cheong-san forcefully shoves him away. As he watches his arm slowly rot, Cheong-san removes his name tag and hands it to Onjo. He says he'll hold on to her name tag and gently kisses her. In that moment, he feels happier than he has ever been in his life. He then rushes into the building, drawing the zombies toward the rooftop to buy his friends their last chance to escape. Soon, Guinam regains consciousness. He finds Cheong-san again and brutally destroys his left eye. Meanwhile, the zombies are successfully guided into the target zones, and the military immediately drops the bombs. At the final moment, Cheong-san grabs Guinam tightly, and both are swallowed by the flames. After the mission ends, the commander returns to his office with a heavy heart. He recalls that Mr. Lee once used fire to free his family from suffering. Now, he has made the same choice. Unable to bear the guilt, he makes a final call to his family and atones for his decision with his own death. After the explosion, the school is reduced to rubble. Chong-san's fate remains unknown, leaving behind only Onjo's name tag. The surviving students force themselves to move on and continue their escape. Along the way, they discover the yellow ribbon markers left by Onjo's father, as well as his flashlight lying on the ground. Onjo holds it tightly, crying uncontrollably. Following the markers, they reach a deserted street filled with an eerie atmosphere. Namra suddenly senses zombies closing in from all sides and urgently tells everyone to retreat. However, an injured student stumbles and falls, forcing them to stand and fight. The zombies are simply too many, and the odds are hopelessly against them. In the chaos, the boy is bitten while trying to protect his older sister. No one has the heart to kill him, until Namra steps forward and decisively ends his suffering. After a brief pause, the group resumes their escape. Namra stays at the back of the line, but the monster inside her begins to awaken again. She fights the discomfort, then finally runs alone toward a wall, trying to force herself to stay conscious. When Soo-hyuk and Onjo realize Namra is missing, they rush back to find her, only to witness her feeding on a zombie. Namra suddenly lunges at Onjo, but at the last second, she suppresses the desire and turns away, disappearing into the thick fog. Not long after, the surviving students finally reach the military blockade. After enduring countless hardships, they finally arrive at the safe zone. 4 months pass in the blink of an eye. The remaining zombies are completely wiped out, and the citywide lockdown is lifted. However, the virus's incubation period remains uncertain, so citizens are still required to stay in isolation. One day, Onjo secretly leaves the quarantine zone and heads nearby to pay her respects to her fallen classmates. As she leaves, she unexpectedly notices a campfire in the distance. She suddenly remembers Namra once said they should light a campfire if they ever meet again. Onjo immediately finds Soo-hyuk and suggests they go check it out tonight. When night falls, to Onjo's surprise, almost all of the surviving classmates show up. Together, they follow the glow of the fire and return to the long-abandoned school. At that moment, Namra slowly steps out of the darkness, softly saying she missed them all. Onjo urges her to leave with them, but Namra refuses. During the time she is gone, she meets others like herself, and she has to stay behind to keep them in check. Noticing Onjo's sadness, Namra takes Onjo's hand and says firmly, "We're friends, even if we're apart." Just then, she hears her kind calling to her. Namra promises she'll be back, then disappears into the night.